Well, hello, good morning, good evening, and every other time in between. We are back. Had a few days off from streaming while I was trying to figure out everything that was broken from the new DLC for Crusader Kings. And unfortunately, I couldn't salvage the old saves from the last playthrough. I did everything that I could. Just couldn't get them to be salvaged. Oh, let's see if we got anybody. Wait for a few more people to join. So how is everybody doing today? So during those 5 days, I've been working with my friend who does all the coding and stuff with me, and we've done a nice little bit of update to our overall map. This right here is actually this right here, Great Bavaria, considered to be the first great Slavic state. Currently we're working on the codes to get certain tags to switch between different names. So if you see a name and it kind of doesn't match up with what it is, that would be why. It just hasn't registered. So again, we have Upper and Lower Francia, just like in the last playthrough. We have the new Kingdom of the Saxons. The Kingdom of Saxony is now the last vestiges of Germanic paganism. How you doing, Queen? It is a faith just unique to the Saxons. It's its last little holding area. Eventually we will disconnect it from paganism, because right now it's just a reskinned pagan of the default pagan that's in the game. But it's already got its like flavor text, and otherwise it's very similar to the Nordic paganism that's up here. Just has some of its own little differences. One of the biggest difference is the worship of nature. It can hold out against people converting them, and you can construct megaliths. Now let's see. Nothing really new here except for the Papal States. Now we are going to be playing with a different mod than what we have. That's alright, Queen. Catholicism, we are now using the, what's it called? It's like Catholic Trinity or something like that, but it allows the... Basically, it adds a whole bunch of new flavor for Catholics in particular, giving access to the College of Cardinals. So if we do become a Catholic power, we'll be able to like have our own cardinals and stuff like that. But as a Viking, we can go and steal their hats. We have a slightly new change to the Abbasid Caliphate. They are now properly at war with their western provinces, which is basically the Berbers. are still rebelling since the collapse of the Umayyads. India is a lot more fleshed out now. India is sort of hard to depict since it's only a real snapshot of a year by year as these borders constantly changed and along with the states. Now here comes the biggest change. We finally have filled out the steppes. So each one of these states, if you were to collectively recombine them from Mongolia, Kyrgyzstan, Tataria, the Uyghurs, Zerisu, and Khazaria, it would basically recreate the second major Turkic empire. But now we have a whole bunch of just smaller Turkic states. Over here in Mongolia, this should be the Ugiz Khaganate. They're the ones that basically ran out the Gökturks, which are the second major, and they're also the first major Turkic empire. And their major rival and the new, basically in the steppe, the rising power at the moment is Kyrgyzstan over here. Basically the Kyrgyz are rising up. And then right here in the central regions of what would have been the Gökturk Empire is the Tartars, which the Tartar culture will actually break apart if it doesn't stay coherent, and eventually break down into the different Tartar groups. So this is more of a representation of the Tartar mother culture of the Tartar Turks. And yes, the Tartars actually had equal inheritance, so they could be ruled by a woman or a man. And Goveria here is pretty kind of semi-mythical, but if she was actually real, she murdered all of her brothers to become basically the leaders of the Tartars. And we got the Eastern Roman Empire. I decided to, just so they would actually be a little bit stronger, to go ahead and move them a little further in time. So the heathen revolt that went on, basically the barbarian conspiracy, has already happened, so they've lost Epirus. Bulgaria hasn't formed the empire yet. It's just more of a little thing for balance. Just kind of that back and forth. The Kingdom of the Lombards have been balanced a little bit more, as whenever we were playing, if you remember in the last playthrough, we had one heck of a time trying to deal with them. Then we got Charlemagne and Carloman. Hopefully one of these two will actually do something a little bit more. We haven't had a single playthrough where Charlemagne has done anything significant more than just die. Got the Kingdom of Brittany. They've got some interesting things. One of these... There we go. Gave them their artifacts. Since Charlemagne was having a little bit of a glitched issue with the skull cap of Charlemagne, we decided to go ahead and just give it to him, since it wasn't spawning after his death, since it was supposed to spawn that artifact after his death. Because it's kind of hard to have your own skull cap. It's just a sacrifice for gameplay. Then we have the Papal States and all of the different cardinals. Eventually, we'll be able to turn around and look at the Pope and maybe even become the Pope ourselves if we become Catholic at any point. Catholic Trinity is actually a really fun mod. That's really all that's new outside of what's going on up here. The northern islands, such as the Faroe Islands and stuff like that, are now under control of the Picts and the Irish, as by this point the Norse hadn't actually moved out this way. And one of the biggest changes is up here is the enclaves of the Irish monkhoods in Iceland. When the Vikings first came over here, it was very sparsely populated, and we know from at least the 200s that Irish monks were at least coming up to Iceland for a little bit to just basically be in solitude and pray. They now have some events tied to them where they can become a lot more permanent, but occasionally we'll see these just become abandoned unless they take the decision immediately, where they can establish a proper Irish community. Meaning whenever we come over here, we'll just have to grab this area from the Irish themselves. Now, this is a long play. Long plays are important to point out that we're very rarely going to go above the slowest speed settings. We might go to 3 at max just occasionally. And our first character, and I want to give him actually some tattoos. So let's first give him some face paint tattoos. And we'll give some body paint. The Norse now have access to all of the different paints and etc. that they would have had. So in the beginning of the Age of Charlemagne, even though there were like mythical kings, etc., the lands of Scandinavia are very, very much divided into smaller little tribal entities, but they are quickly consolidating, especially here in Denmark. We have some notable characters. One of the big noticeable ones is the son of Sigurd the Ring, which is the legendary Ragnar Lothbrok, and he has legendary stats for a 1-year-old, well, a 0-year-old. And he's beautiful, just like how he's described in some of the sagas. So, whenever he comes of age, he'll become quite the character. I decided I wanted to also have a bit of a legendary character, and just to see some of the new stuff with the Exalted Warlord. So, we went with Exalted Lord... I can't talk. Went with Exalted Warlord, which, it looks pretty cool. Now, regularly you would have to go to a university after you hit your education to get up to this point. So it is quite strong. It's the highest tier for education. Charlemagne. To try to help him do a little bit more, we buffed his stats across the board. So hopefully he'll go out and do something. Might have to upgrade him also to a genius at one point. But he's also an Exalted Warlord. So he'll most likely go out and try to grab his claims. Hopefully he will succeed. Because I would just like the idea of having the Franks to deal with. So, our first character is Keifer of Oslo. We are basically starting with our original dynasty again. From the first playthrough. I've already went through, gave him basically already hired up the court, etc. So we got ourselves our court physician, our whatever you call it, the equestrian, and a few bodyguards we happen to have. Still need some of the other stuff, gotta find them. Let's see our actual council. Oh, we actually have a decent council. A 33, that's a solid, excellent person. 21, that's also a solid, a 19, and a 15. So yeah, that's definitely above average court. Got a good priest up there. That was just the things for the Germanic religion coming up. So hopefully this will kind of decrease the strength of the Abbasids, or at least slow them down a little bit. Also, Nubia and Abyssinia are now in the game. We're going to be flipping back and forth with the head of the Nordic cultures. I'm definitely concentrating on getting our mustering grounds going, because that'll give us just basically a general advantage. Oslo is a pretty nice little county to start out with. I rolled a dice where we would actually start in Scandinavia, hit Oslo. So we'll be in Norway again, which I'm not complaining. Norway is a very nice region. Let's take a look at our court. We want to try and befriend definitely our Chancellor, so we're going to sway. Being that this is also a slow play, we can get a lot more acquainted with a lot of our characters. So personality-wise, we are brave, ambitious, and zealot, so we will not be converting to any other religion as this character. He is a very strong and firm believer of the Nordic gods. We also want to go ahead and dedicate ourselves to one of the Norse deities. And being that we are primarily a warlord and all of that, we are heading to become... yeah, this is where we want. A devotee of Ulfnir, the god of the hunters and the warriors. Now, unlike in Neo-Norse mythology, which was basically revived basically in the 1930s by a very angry man from Austria who had a little tiny mustache that we won't actually name. A lot of occult stuff with it. But anyways, Tyr is a god of war, but even though in God of War it shows him as the god of war, The Norse didn't have just one. And from what we know, since it wasn't really heavily written down, most likely Alfenir would have been the primary god of war. Let's see what activities we have going on. Can't really do a university visit at the moment. Could hold a feast, but that'd be a bit much. I think we're going to start with a hunt. See what we get. We're in a lot of nice woodland area. And we'll just go around in the back area of Oslo. Don't want to just hire anybody in particular, and we want to try and befriend our Chancellor. So we will be waiting for our guests to arrive before we start going out on our hunts. We've been offered a concubine. She would not be a bad concubine. And we're going to be hunting a stag. There's nothing better than a good hunt. Also, just like our original playthrough, though nobody actually got landed for any decision, and oh my, that happened really quick. Charlemagne has, not even a few months in, has just eaten his brother's realm. So that's something. So now he has all of Carloman's territory. An alliance with the Kingdom of Brittany, from the looks of it. Now he has to grab a little bit more, but eventually we might see the Empire of Francia come up. Looks like we got a bunch of poachers in our forest around Oslo. And we're gonna hang them. And we're going to attempt to ambush this stag. See if we can get it. And again, the poachers. Just going to drive them out of our forest. Also, since this is a long playthrough, just come through and relax, put your feet up, grab a drink. As we'll be really getting to know Keifer. And we brought down the stag, giving us the hunter trait. Very nice. Very, very nice. And we'll give the stag antlers, since we don't really have a court to show it off in yet. We'll give the antlers to him. And hopefully this will help make him our friend. There we go. Also, we start out with a family heirloom, which is Venom Fang. Venom Fang is a really nice and awesome sword, and there's going to be a bit of a roleplay thing with this. If we lose Venom Fang, we have to be hell-bent on trying to get this thing back. This will be our most treasured family heirloom. The legendary sword of Keifer. So that definitely increased our relations with our Chancellor. Our court is fairly young too, that's nice. Let's see who is the greatest threat around us. They're all the way over here messing with the Anglo-Saxons. We're ambitious, we want to definitely go out and conquer and beat people up, and we have an opportunity to take out our neighbor. So we're definitely going to take it. They're not too much weaker than we are. Since it's a slow play, we'll also be able to notice more events when they happen. Now his army is away at the moment on campaign, so when it comes back, if it comes back in time, we'll be able to deal with it. We actually have enough prestige to go ahead and upgrade our Huskarls to the maximum. Now, as usual, we are playing with Crusader Wars. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. We're doing a nice long playthrough. I don't know if you just came in right now for Stockholm, but just like in our original playthrough, all of our basically everybody who's part of the community who's ever subscribed, people who are part of Do Wheel Friends, all of that sort of stuff, they're wandering around somewhere in the world, and being that this is a long play, being that we're not going to go off of speed 1 or 2 very often, we have a higher chance of running into people, or at least noticing them. Let's see this concubine. She's smart. Yeah, we'll take her. Another concubine. We will need to find somebody worthy enough to be our primary wife. Upland. Yeah, we're over here in Norway. Or as it would have been called right now, Norgar. Actually is... yeah, Stockholm is actually here already. Wait, that's... yeah, that's Stockholm. Just wonder if it's already on the map. Let's make sure no armies coming over to mess with us. It's crazy that Charlemagne already ate his brother. He died. Died of his wounds. There we go. Captured this territory without a fight. That's interesting. Don't need to exchange hostages whenever they're not even going to be around. Ah, somebody's trying to seduce us. Look at that. Now that we have another tribe under our control, we can better get our levies up. Do need to keep an eye on Sigurd the Ring. Yeah, I didn't think Stockholm was actually founded yet. Upland Temple. Yeah, she's a little on the older side for our character. To even make a concubine. I was gonna say, Gotland's one of the older houses at the spawn. Regimen is somewhere in here, which is a semi-historical character from this time, King Regimen. But he actually doesn't start landed because he takes over the land from the previous person. But he should be somewhere in Denmark because he kind of moves around. But historically, he would take over what would become the Kingdom of Jutland. I'm hoping that Ragnar Lothbrok doesn't, like, die when he's a baby. Oh, cool. I actually didn't know that about Stockholm. What's going on over here, Finland? Is it to the north or the south? Should be to the south. Let's see how our tribe's doing. We got enough to put ourselves a building, so we're gonna put ourselves some longhouses. Some good old gathering halls. Definitely going to build this. It's a nice, powerful building to have. Let's see. Doesn't look like much politically has happened outside of, you know, the Kingdom of the Franks is united again. Definitely need to keep an eye on Sweden, though. It's got a few decent characters that might actually do something. Sigurd's out, basically raiding. And we're gonna do the same. We are a Viking. Eventually, I'm going to break apart the Norse culture, because the Norse were actually only right here in Norway, because they became the Norwegians. Like, collectively, yeah, calling it the Nordic culture would be correct, but the Norse themselves were Norwegians. You would have Jutlanders, Danelanders, the lands of the Geats. And I forget what the Swedes would have been called there. They might have just been the Swedes still at this point. But there was definitely a good enough difference between each one of them. Like, if Sigurd and Ragnar would have actually existed, he would have 100% been a Swede. Most of the, what you would see on TV and stuff usually depicts him as a Dane. He would 100% have been a Swede. And my Chancellor is on his way to become a member of the Vangian Guard. So we need a new Chancellor for a little while. Until he comes back. And we want plunder. Give us the juicy, juicy money. Yeah, Farouk actually existed. He was also from Upland. And the word, the Rus, is also the old West Nordic dialect, basically the Norwegian dialect to Ro, to Rus. I'm just taking up this juicy plunder. We could pay for that person's ransom. That works for me. Oh yes, bring me the boundless plunder. More plunder for Alfnir. Oh, we're actually full. Back to Oslo. Our longships loaded with gold. I see a super religious. I wouldn't say like super duper religious, but he's definitely a decent enough character to have faith in Odin. So, rating in Ck3 is mostly determined on the area's development and its stability. If it hasn't been fighting a lot, it'll be a lot more rich. But if it also has like temples and stuff, like early on, Canterbury is just a gold mine, as it's usually 50 a pop. But realm capitals would be pretty decent holy sites. So if we take a look over here, like Predborn, Cologne, pretty much anywhere in Italy would be fairly decent. Just the more developed it is, the better it'll be to attack. And if you have the Viking trait and the Reaver trait combined, they will basically give you more plunder events, which can basically gather you your maximum plunder quicker. Yeah, Venice would be pretty good, except for we're using City of Wonders, so any of these large cities would definitely be a nut to crack. Yeah, it's over 100 gold in loot. Let's see what Canterbury is. Right now it's 54. London's 41. 42. I mean, we could do what Hastings did. Not Hastings, but Hastings. Pretend that we're dying, die, say that we wanted to convert, went through the whole little, by the way, this is how Pisa fell to the Vikings. Pretend that you're dead, go inside for burial because you converted the last moment and you wanted to give all your riches to the church, all that sort of stuff. The people open up your gates because your entire army is going to be baptized upon your wish, and then jump out of your coffin and start pillaging the entire city. Yeah, Linden's Farm is a pretty decent little area. Right now it's not, but it will grow since it's so close to the capital of Northumbria. We'll eventually make our way. I actually like leaving the Anglo-Saxons to sort of like grow their wealth a little bit at the beginning of this. Because right now we're in 771, and in 779 is when the first actual Viking, well, recorded Viking attacks start. Actually, an interesting theory is when Charlemagne overwhelms and basically beats down multiple times the Saxons, that the Saxons that retreated across the border into what is today Denmark, which would have been at this time the Kingdom of Upland, not Upland, but the Kingdom of Jutland, most likely them going around telling the stories of what happened basically with Charlemagne is what caused the Viking era to really kick off. There's a lot of evidence that the Nordic attacks are a response to Charlemagne's expansion. Alrighty, let's build ourselves some warrior huts, some warrior camps. And since we're a berserker, we have our nice furs. Oh, some good old prisoners I forgot we can ransom away. And this woman we will offer up to the gods. I do like that Upland became so famous that a whole different area basically took its name. Upland. Upland, Upland. Jutland. I think another upland actually formed over here in the land of the Rus. Let's see how well we actually have our He does like us a lot more when he comes back. If he comes back. When they go off to join the guard, they can definitely die. We'll definitely need to find ourselves a proper wife soon. Viklam. A region that had so many Vikings that it became named after them. Viklam. I think we can pick up another men-at-arms. Definitely always good to have some archers. Of course, our armies in Crusader Wars, we won't have a lot of cavalry with our Nordic. Horses were pretty uncommon in Scandinavia until a little bit later on when they were introduced and brought over. Only the highest of nobles would have had horses regularly. And if they would have had enough of them, then they would have basically had them as a scouting detachment. Let's see. And if I recall right, in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, this is actually where it happens. I know this is where Jordvig is actually from. Well, again, if he would have actually existed. Jordvig the Cruel. Yeah, the first bad guy that you kill in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Jordvig, he was an actual Viking. It's our marshal. Definitely want him to. So they're having a battle of the flinging, basically, right here. I'm not actually sure in Sweden if flinging was a thing. Basically having a swift battle of words. If you happen to know that from Stockholm. And thank you. Who's becoming a bigger threat? I'll definitely go down the coast. He is a winter warrior, so he's a little bit more of a threat. So we'll move to capture his territory now. For Althnir. The sky shall roll with thunder. As we get Thor's approval for battle. And our first battle for Crusader Wars. And for anybody who doesn't know, Crusader Wars basically lets us put our battles from Ck3 into the Attila engine and duke it out on the battlefield. Yeah, I quite enjoy it. Alright, take your time. It seems that Hela has granted us a wintry fate.
Mounted warriors! Warlord! We'll kill them all! We'll kill them all! Battle ready and eager! Archers! We'll kill them all!
And our Grand Huskarls.
Magako! Stay together! Fools! Wiser men would flee before our numbers! Quickly now! Follow me!
Now I have changed the unit list a little bit for the Norse, just to reflect a little bit better of how they would been. So the general units are definitely going to be cavalry units, and they probably are going to be the only cavalry units that we will be using for a while. The Warlords Champions, it definitely makes sense for these to be the, basically our knights.
There's enough giving today for everyone! At the ready, men! Melee warriors!
We'll send these guys up here. Being that this is the first time that we've done this in the playthrough, I didn't quite catch the levy forces.
This is where we teach them a lesson.
But we still have their knights and their actual chieftain to deal with.
Horses love blood. Forwards! Follow me!
I swear, these are the worst maps in Total War. Sorry about that. Always hate the farms and the villas. And I think this is just an issue with the Attila functionality of the engine. Just units tend to get hung up on the little itty-bitty walls that they could easily, you know, walk over. Because of that silly little animation. Then jump the invisible wall.
Warriors eager for blood. Ready for battle. Shield wall now.
Shield wall. Hey, look, they're actually brave.
Their general is dead. A lethal blow. Kill!
We'll send our chieftain. Keifer will run them down.
The day is yours.
And more souls to send down the Bifrost. We should be getting a new update soon, actually, to Crusader Wars. I'm hoping later on that we'll have enough strength to raid into the Mediterranean. I want to try to steal the Pope's hat. Stealing the Pope's hat is always a fun thing to do. Getting the papal tiara. Alrighty, here we go. A nice quick crushing victory. Only 3 of them got away. Let's see. He has decent prowess. He'd make a good cannon fodder knight. Shall recruit him. He might become our new spy master, to be honest. We're going to get a weak hook on him and recruit him. Assign him our position. Since he's a good chancellor, we're definitely going to pin him. I was gonna say, he hasn't come back from the Eastern Roman Empire yet. Put our former spy master there. Till he comes back. Now we can pick up Groom to Rule, so whenever we have children, they'll have better stats. Next, we want to pick up Thoughtful, give us a little better gifts. At least opinions of our gifts whenever we give them out. And we're going to give our first gift, actually, right now. To our Spy Master, because we don't want to, you know, randomly find ourselves murdered. Charlemagne is wounded. So is the Queen. Let's see how the eternal dynamics look. Interesting. A lot of children. Looks like Kent has eaten Sussex. Surprised Offa hasn't just turned around and eaten some of his neighbors. Alrighty, you enjoy your rest. Wessex will be a interesting place to keep an eye on. The heir to Wessex is a hostage to Mercia. Interesting. We should be finishing up our siege soon. Won't be long before we start looking for ourselves a proper wife. I'm surprised we haven't had a child with one of our concubines. And she wouldn't be a bad one either. We'll take her as a concubine. Our domain holdings are getting close to being done with their constructions. And there we go. And we will raise ourselves up a runestone. Conquest runestone. And Oslo would be a fine choice. Very good. And we also have enough to give ourselves some marketplaces. It's one of our more southern territories, so we definitely want to have better supply routes down this way as we would raid. Theodoric and his different wives. How much do we need to form ourselves the Jarldom? Not much. It's time to go a-vaking. Wait for our archers to get a little bit... we'll just go ahead and go. Could just march down the coast. I think that's what we'll do. Just march down the coastline and gather up all that we need. Those aren't too bad. Upland would be a decent place. That place was 19, now it's down to 15 since we are raiding next to it. It doesn't look like it, and it's not really fleshed out or explained. And I don't actually see a lot of people that are aware of it, but there is a very underlined trade system in Ck3. A very, very, very bare bones underline area. Which is basically, the more wealthy areas are, the more adjacent, so Oslo, the more it gets wealthy, the more it's going to affect the areas around it, and areas that also have trade ports that are within like so long. It seems to be within like 5 or 10 counties away. So here's a county. Yes, bring me that plunder. So this county is affected by Oslo, this county is affected by this one, and then this one. And vice versa, so the development in this area would also affect down this way. And the further away you get from an area, the more it gets, basically the better the trade gets for it. $19 over that way. We'll drop off this loot and then we'll come down here and raid around this way. The Nordic cultures were pretty content on raiding one another until they basically started realizing that the monasteries over here in Western Europe were a lot easier targets and tended to be a lot richer. And if the theory about a lot of the Viking era being just a response to the expansion of Charlemagne, then yeah. That would play into it as well. Alrighty, now we're just gonna raid down the coastline. Well, not the coastline, but our adjacent territories. This revolt has definitely been going back and forth, back and forth. And they've had other people join the war, though the Abbasids seem to be winning. If the Abbasids win that with all the people that joined that rebellion, I'd say that's a well-deserved war victory. And we're just gonna grab some more territory. Well, some more raiding. We can pay some ransoms. When we come back, we'll be able to become a Jarl. Another chieftain to ransom. And we'll continue just raiding right down into Denmark. Sigurd the Ring is sick. Got to keep an eye on that. Increase their army size up. We're still very obscure. Outside of the people that we've bullied around us, nobody's heard of us. Surprised Sigurd isn't declaring war on anybody. Taking a little bit more plunder. More gold to take home. Oh, that's all we need right there. Another ransom. More gold to pay. And back to Oslo we go. The longships are loaded with gold again. When he comes back from Constantinople, we might make him a vassal. When we expand into bigger areas. You know what, we still have enough before we do anything else. That guy has an amazing mustache. We'll hit the areas that we haven't hit down here yet. Though if anybody's going to fight back, it's definitely going to be down here. Alrighty. This guy on this island's actually relatively strong, and he's allied with Gotland, who has become a Jarl. Surprised none of our concubines have given us any children. We'll grant him a pardon. And as I thought, the chief of this place is coming up to challenge us. We'll see if we can go ahead and get our longships out of here, though. We already got what we need. They'll probably hit us before we can go. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have a fight. An actual fight on our hands for this gold. We shall offer up our calls to Alfenir. The horns of battle sound. The ravens will feast, and Hela will have her souls. Our numbers aren't too different. Fortunately, yet again, we're fighting on the farmlands.
We hunger for blood and battle! Fearless warriors! Fierce! Warriors ready!
Here we are.
Axes!
And our Huskarls.
Warriors eager for blood! Stay as you are!
Alrighty, it seems like if we come this way and then up, we'll avoid the little fences and stuff of the fields that are over here. Alright, our army is almost formed up.
Mounted warriors!
I do believe that the next update for Crusader Wars also includes a whole bunch more maps. I remember seeing something about maps. Not like unit maps, but like proper maps. Alrighty, let's march up to the enemy chieftain's army. Through these little vineyards.
The enemy draws near!
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're intent on moving anytime soon, but that's fine.
Enemy showing an interest, sir!
Then let's get ready to greet them, shall we?
Steady!
It's good, we'll be able to come over and form up like this. And avoid the weird terrain issues.
Follow me! Battle ready and eager! Advance at speed! Melee warrior!
When it comes to the melee fight, the Huskarls are definitely going to be the deciding factor, most likely. See, this is what I mean about the weird terrain issues. With farmlands and stuff like that. Just speed up the walking. Got a bunch of units sort of staggering over that way. I think that's all of them, though. Yep, it seems like it.
Swift horsemen!
Alrighty, let's... bring our army up.
Riders, forward! Ready! Put up the shield wall! Put up the shield wall!
We'll move up in a shield wall. Our shield wall versus theirs.
We hunger for blood and battle! Riders, advance!
Just our lines. And let's start the killing.
Axes! March! We'll kill them all!
There go our Huskarls into their lines. Fit their archers.
Bastards! I will cut out your hearts and eat them!
Could have thrown down their weapons and are fleeing!
These cavalry units are deadly. We'll have Keifer and his cavalry go around this way.
The enemy general is dead! Hunters! We'll kill them all! Move it! The enemy are losing their advantage!
Oh, there they all go.
Godspeed good! We are moments away from victory!
There we are. More souls to send down the Bifrost. Or Bifrost. The corpse halls of Valhalla await. Now, depending on how much our army's been depleted whenever we go into Ck3, we'll either head back to Oslo or continue our raiding. Alrighty, we're heading back to Oslo. So we actually have more loot. And our longhouses have actually been constructed. So our good old Lord's Halls are ready to go. Just let them sweep them aside. Didn't mean to get into that fight. Also, I think we got our champions assigned. Yeah, we do. I know there's a land route, but head into the ocean. It's quicker. Go through the Sound. And up to Oslo we go. Yeah, give us some gold. Alrighty, that was a nice set of plunder. I'm surprised that Sigurd the Ring is not expanding. Looks like Applin has secured the north of Scotland. Calvin, I mean. They'll go and form a kingdom historically that stretched right around about here. Eating a little bit of Strathclyde. And this is Kenneth MacAlban, which historically is considered to be the first proper king of Scotland. Though at the time it would be called Alba. Speaking of, we are going to we can get some more money out of that one. I can get some more money out of that one. We're gonna offer him up to the gods. And we'll offer him up and her up to the gods. And we're going to take this county. Huh, I didn't notice that we actually got a claim on that. Unless they hire up some mercenaries, we're just gonna let them beat them down the old Ck3 way. Oops, sorry about that. I didn't notice that we didn't switch back over. All we did is just waltz up here and bring our loot back to Oslo. And we'll watch this little fight. They have no men-at-arms, so we'll just sweep them away. And we got them 100%. Oh, they're badly, severely injured. Hopefully they come back home and live. A little bit of Catholic coming in up here. Not surprised. When he dies, his realm will be all split up amongst his sons. Ah, the wings of Odin. We are in a dream, this time flying in the sky, looking over the realm and pictures of the green forest. One place calls me. A trade port to the west. We dream about that. We can interpret that and use it as a roleplay to begin raiding the Anglo-Saxons soon. We'll go ahead and increase our crown authority. Basically our tribal authority. Six more months. Let's definitely increase relations with our spy master. Maybe we can become friends with them. Won't be much longer. Let's see about the people we have. This guy we're definitely going to recruit. We cook. Definitely use more warriors. We still have chiefs to put to keep a hold of. Hopefully Charlemagne will start pushing into some of the other territories. He has a claim on all three neighboring realms. He's a paragon. There we go. Finally, all of Vikland is under our control. We are no longer just the chief of Oslo. We are now the Jarl of Vikland. And let's make our new banner collars. Going to make it black and white. Just gonna flip it. Go to animals and the raven. Shrink that down a little bit. And we will rotate it. I'd say about 330 degrees. Bring it up 45 and increase the size. I say 80 is about fine. There we go, I'm satisfied with that. It's simple, but it's nice. We do have a bunch of concubines, but none of them have really given us any sons. Any children at all, to be honest. So I'm thinking the next time when we come back and we look at the rest of the, let's see what we got. Anything else we do real quick? We'll take what we got gold-wise. There's a feuding town. As soon as we become Jarl. And April 1st. We'll pause on and... let's see, anything else we want to pick up? Maybe another group of Huskarls. Though some veterans wouldn't be bad either. I say another group of veterans. Have them down here. And increase their size, we'll get more prestige. Go ahead and save. And this was fun. This is all we have time for today. So if you liked what you saw, remember to give us a like and subscribe. Give us a follow over here on Twitch. And if you're watching this on YouTube, there is links somewhere, either down below or above. I can't remember right where they are. Come over here and follow us to get all the live streams as they're happening. And we'll be seeing you all later, you alligators. Bye-bye now.